Your
Okay,
your
here is
camera
a here's a
your
speech.
camera is way off. Your camera is much
Yeah, yeah,
different.
no problem. Here's the speech given by Lubavitcher. Thank you very much. Speech given by Lubavitcher Rebbe on Chanuka, about Chanuka, the holiday of Chanuka, and what a weird holiday that it is. It was given in 1953. Hi, 1953. This speech was given 1950, maybe even 1952, I guess, because it wasn't New Year's yet. Same time as like now, 1952. So let's see if we can finish this one and even do the next one. It talks about the uniqueness and the strangeness of the holiday of Hanukkah, why we light candles and exactly what was the miracle and what happened and what's so unusual about this holiday of Hanukkah and also why it's popular. Here, let's go. The mitzvahs from Hanukkah, the commandment of Hanukkah, the holiday of Hanukkah, is an Licht. It's to light candles. Light candles. Via Zoe Shaftman Licht. How do you make light? How do you make light? There's questions about what type of light you can use. If you use electric light, if you can use what type of a light is good. Mainly, the question is, can you use electric light? But almost everybody agrees that not. But still, the idea is to make light. How do you make light? Men nemt boimel, you take oil, other hults or wood, azoy das gleichend, or something similar. Das says this means a gashmi is you take a physical thing, un men warmt das on, and you warm it up. Bis is wird ois gashmi until it is not physical anymore. When it's hebt on to lichten, and all of a sudden it becomes fire, and it illuminates the whole surrounding. Yeah, and I guess according to science, you stimulate the what is the vibrate the atoms or something. In any case, whatever it is the thing was physical, and it becomes light. It becomes light. You release the energy, whatever it becomes light. So here, from a physical thing, which you can put your hands on, you can knock on it, physical thing, or oil, you can touch it, and it becomes light, which you cannot touch. The licht, the light, was meant on, the light which we make on Chanukah, comes from the light which was in the Holy Temple. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. I see that couldn't figure out why I was squinting. Here we go. It comes from the Holy Temple. From the Holy Temple. Why do we light lights at all? Because in the Holy Temple, they used to light the menorah. And when the Greeks took over, so they defiled all the oil. And the oil couldn't be used in the menorah. But the how we commemorate it is that we lit the candles in the menorah, in the Holy Temple. But that was already like 2,500 years, something like that ago. Long time ago. 2,300 years ago. And we're still commemorating it today. Here, Kumt from the lift comes from which we in Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, Felekt men jeder Nacht, every night, Zindenlicht, they used to light candles. But in them site, in that time, from the miracle of Hanukkah, is nit gewen kein reina boimel. There was not any spiritually spiritually pure oil. There was a lot of oil. The Greeks did not pour out the oil. The Greeks left the oil there. They just defiled the oil. And there was no ritually, qualified oil that they could use. By the way, how did the Greeks defile the oil? There's two opinions. One opinion is that they just opened up all of the bottles, and the other one is that they touched the oil. They moved the bottles. However it is, they didn't like spit in it or make it smelly or something like that. The oil was exactly the same oil, looked the same way, but the Greeks defiled it, and because it was defiled, so it was couldn't be used in the Holy Temple. To light the candles. So what did God do? Getan anes. God made a miracle. Und men hat gefunden, we found a bottle of oil, tahor, pure oil, chatum bechutmo shel Kohen Gadol, which was sealed with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. A kringle reina boil, a bottle of oil. So they looked around and they found one bottle that the Greeks had missed. The Greeks were very meticulous people, and they conquered the whole world. They were also very practical people and capable people and successful people, but somehow or other, in their quest to conquer the world, they succeeded. But in their quest to defile all the oil in the Holy Temple, they did not succeed. They left one bottle there, which was a big miracle, and they found this bottle. By the way, that this is part of the thing, because they didn't have any oil, and it took 8 days to make new oil. So they found one bottle of pure oil, and it lasted for 8 days. So when they found the bottle, that was one day. So the miracle was not that it lasted for 8 days. The miracle was lasted for 7 more days, because there was 7. So there's a lot of different one of the explanations is just finding the bottle was a miracle. So that's the miracle, the first day finding the bottle. But in any case, they found one bottle of pure oil and sealed with the Kohen Gadol, by the high priest. Let me just go to the next page. Oh, look at this, it's tilted. Okay, so I'm sorry if anybody gets a stiff neck from this. Here we go. I'm sorry if I get a stiff neck. Oh, let's see, where is this? Here we go. Oh, how did this get tilted? I don't know. All right. The boimel, the oil, is in pach, which is in this bottle, is given genug, was enough for one day. Is geshenane, so there was a miracle, und es hat gebrannt, and it burned 8 tag, 9 days. This is written in Yiddish, by the way, because this is the original language that the Rebbe spoke, and this was not written down by the Rebbe. It was written down by his Hasidim, because the Rebbe, a lot of times, he spoke this on Shabbat. So, we remembered it. This Hasidim remembered it, and they would get together and write it down, and then they would hand it into the Rebbe to see if he okayed it. And so he would okay these. In any case, so it lasted for 8 days. It's written also in Hebrew, and in English it's translated. Und zum Endig from the Neis, and the Shalom Paul. And to commemorate this miracle, as we today light candles, all achtag, all of the 8 days of Chanuka. Okay, so that's it. That's pretty nice, the nice miracle. We won this big battle, and we purified. We found one bottle of oil, and it lit for 8 days. So we do that 8 days. Nit Kukendik, by the way, the holiday of Chanuka is only from the rabbis. Of course, it's not written in the Torah. Nit Kukendik, that's the story I'm going to tell you today. Nice story. Story I'm going to tell. 1 second. Okay. Nit Kukendik, notwithstanding with them, the fact was the licht from Chanukah, that the lights of Chanukah kumen from the licht from the holy temple, as from deswegen, nevertheless, seinen dem for under geteilt. They are different in etliche Sachen, in certain details. Right? The rabbis know when the rabbis make a decree, the rabbis made a decree, so it was always something like the law of the Torah, something like the law of the Torah. And here we see that it was not like the law of the Torah. The law of the Torah was that they lit 7 candles. They lit 7 candles, and they would start lighting them in the end of the day, but they would light it in the daytime, 7 candles, and they would light it in the holy temple, 7 candles. And here we see that they light 8 candles. Okay, that commemorates the day. And we see that we'll start lighting them in the nighttime, and there's other differences. Here we go. Ready? 2 differences between the 3 differences, outstanding differences. 4 different. Here we go. 4. Let's see, maybe even more. Here. First of all, in Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, is Alamol Geven, the Zelber, Zolnicht. They lit every night, lit 7. Der Kegen, which is not so on Chanuka, Git Mensu, we add Yeder Nacht, every night we add Nachalich, another light. Base, number 2. In Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, Fleck men, and Sind the Lich, we lit the candles, Davka by Nacht, by Tug. The candles would be lit at the end of the day. And the end of the day was pretty early. It was like 3 in the afternoon or something. Then is Nach Geven, good licht, when it was still light. But by Chanukah, no, we wait until the nighttime to light the candles. Light to the night. Number 3. Neros Hamikdash, the lights of the holy temple, Zayin and Geven, in Vainik, they were inside. And they were also in a holy place. Neros Chanukah is mitzvah lahaniach al petach beitov mibechutz. The lights of Chanukah, you can put them outside in the street. There's a reason, according to Kabbalah, that people light it inside. But the law is that you can light the lights of Chanukah outside. And there's a lot of Jews that do light it outside, especially in Jerusalem. They put it in a glass box so that if it rains, it doesn't put it out of wind. And they put it outside on the entrance of the house to the outside. So we have 3 differences so far. What are the differences?
Rabbi, there's a lot of noise coming from your recording. I don't know if it's your camera or what it is, but it's a lot worse than last night.
I don't know.
Is there a fan on your?
No, there's nothing. No, nothing in the room.
It's making noise right now.
I don't know. Okay, so let's go to the differences. I'll check out. I'll listen to when I listen to it, the playback, I don't hear any noise. Okay, here we go. So here we have so far 3 differences between the lights of Chanukah and the lights that were in the Holy Temple, that the lights of Chanukah are supposed to commemorate. In the Holy Temple, there was the same number, 7 every night. By us, we increase the number. We start off 1 and we get to 8. Number 2, in the Holy Temple, they started lighting the lights, the candles in the daytime. And they lit the whole night, but they started in the daytime and we started in the nighttime. Number 3, the lights of in the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, were inside and they were in a holy place. And we can put the lights of Chanukah outside in a public place, not holy at all, holy pure. Number 4, the lights in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, and in the temple. The tabernacle is what they had and when they were in the desert, and also for the first 440 years, after Joshua brought the Jews into Israel, until the temple was built, that was 440 years. King Solomon built the temple. So all that time, that 40 years in the desert, and the 440 years in Israel before the temple, it was in a place called the Mishkan. And when they were in Israel, so the Mishkan moved around to like 4 different places. The Mishkan. So the lights that were in the Mishkan and the tabernacle and the temple is given at sight was in the time when Yidden had nit gefelt in Gashmis. They weren't lacking anything physically. They had the holy temple. Special in them sight, especially in the time from the tabernacle in the desert, Yidden had also everything they needed. Essen, the food came from the heaven. They got the manna. Wasser, water. This came from Be'er Shel Miriam, the well of Miriam that traveled along with them. There was a big rock that went along with them and poured out water for everybody. Even the garments that they had were protected from all sides. They didn't even need an army in the desert. Azoi is oich. It's also the same thing, the mitzvah of the lights of the holy temple. They were given in the days of King Solomon. So in the tabernacle, for sure, the holy temple and the menorah was lit in a time of peace and security. Also the same thing in the time of King Solomon in the first temple. In the time of King Solomon in the first temple, let's see, we get this here like this. We get it all, is inside Kainer hat nit milchama. They didn't have to have any war with the Jews in the time, at least of King Solomon. Adarabba, men had gor ze gezelt mas. The non-Jews paid the taxes to the Jews, to Israel. because they realized that King Solomon was making peace in the whole world. And so everybody paid and donated to King Solomon, not from fear, but from appreciation and also for their own benefit. She is given ish tachat gavno ish tachat teinoto. Says everyone was under his own vineyard and his own fig tree, right? Everybody had all of their necessities. Does Zelber oich and spiritually, also spiritually, in the time when there was the holy temple and they lit the candles. As it was spiritually, the Jewish people were on a much higher level. You go to the holy temple and you'd feel that there's a creator to the world. You'd feel you're being created. Barum, it's a happy feeling, Barum, because as menat nit kein gashmis tigers, there were no physical worries. Git men sich ein gesangen avek oif Torah and mitzvahs and ganzen. A person could totally be devoted to learning the Torah, doing the commandments, and appreciating God more, appreciating life more, spiritual things, Jewish things. But correspondingly, exactly the opposite of the lights of Chanuka, Zayin and Verbunden are connected with a time when the land of Israel was under the rulership of Greece. When the Yiddish army and the Jewish army is given Zera Klein and Sol. The army was very, very strong, small, and weak. There were only, according to Rashi, there were only 13 Maccabees that fought against tens of thousands, as is Rebbe, tens of thousands of Greeks. There are 13 Jews. There are only 13, right? The Maccabees, the 13 Jews, and they fought against 20,000. Azoy oich and ruchnis, also spiritually, is nit geven kain shemen. There was not pure oil. Afilu if ein tug, even for enough for one night, right? For even one night, it was right. The Jewish people in the Holy Temple, they didn't have any oil, right? They had to look around. There was no oil whatsoever. They had to look around just to find oil for even one night, and miraculously, that oil that they found lit for 8 days. But there was exactly the opposite situation in the Holy Temple. Okay. There's also other differences also, but the Allah Chilukim, all these differences that we just said, right? That in the Holy Temple was the same number. We always increased, and the Holy Temple was lit in a holy place, and we lighted even outside. We could light it in the Holy Temple. The menorah in the Holy Temple was 7, and we light 8. It was the same number in the Holy Temple, and we keep increasing. And it was also in the time of peace in the Holy Temple. Now we're in exactly the opposite, especially the Greeks. The Allah Chilukim, all these differences, Zayin and Verbunden, are connected one with the other. And the time when it's good for the Jews physically and also spiritually, like we said before, Varum ven a Yid Hadbik was when a Jew has is Gitter mit on up in her hand mit a brighter hand of inyanim ruchtis, because when a Jew is not troubled by physical things or threatened or tempted or whatever by physical things, so he can devote himself to being Jewish. Suddenly Judaism becomes more important and more rewarding than anything else, right? To do what you're created to do. Darf men and nit haben kein milchama. You don't have to have any war or any self-sacrifice. Done is genug. Then it's enough. As yet talk that every day zolze the zelber told you can have the same number of candles. Men muz nit zu geben noch. You don't have to add on all the time, because it's gate alts normal. Everything is normal. What's what we're saying? Let's take an example. Let's say a person that's a musician, right? A musician, a good musician. Nothing pleases him more than to do music. If he could just, not have to eat and not have to sleep, just do music, appreciate music, that would be for him the ideal thing. A person who is a good doctor, his greatest pleasure in the world is to heal people. If he could just heal people all the time and there weren't any problems, right? Or if it was a genuine doctor, if everyone was healthy and he could just tell people that they're healthy all the time, that would be the biggest, happiest thing for him. A Jew is the same thing. A Jew is has a talent for godliness. Just like a musician has a talent for music, doctor has a talent for healing, etc. Then the Jew has a talent for godliness. Every Jew. And godliness is found in a different way inside of everything, but it's the positive goodness inside of everything. That's the essence of a Jew. When there was a holy temple and things were good, so every day was basically the same. You didn't have to make any big efforts in order to do good. You didn't have to make any efforts in order to appreciate God. It was just everything was just good. You could always appreciate it naturally. But when things are bad, like they were in the time of the Greeks, and even more, we're going to see that most of the Jews even agreed with the Greeks, then you have to make a special effort to appreciate God and to do godly things. And even more, you have to increase constantly. The battle is always, it's a constant one. Azoya, the same thing is, that's why they had to increase light. Why we increase light now? Azoya, the oich also, Darfman nit, Legen, Kaini, Stalish, you don't have to have any effort, Belecht and the gas to, you don't have to make any special effort to light up or to illuminate or to make meaningful the world outside of the Holy Temple. The gas, the Welt, the world is nit finster because the world wasn't dark. In the time of the temple, the world wasn't dark. The menorah had gebrannt in Beit HaMikdash. The menorah was gebrannt. The menorah was lighting in the holy temple, and automatically this illuminated the whole world. That the whole world knew Jewish people were holy. When was when did the world need to be worked on? When the temple was destroyed. Why was the temple destroyed? Because the Jewish people didn't appreciate godliness enough. They didn't appreciate it. Let's see, we go. But let's see. But insight in the time but inside in the time from a shvera matzav, when things are difficult, at sight from milchama, time when there was war, like in the time of the Greeks, unit nor not only a war with the Greeks, nor oich, but also with the other Jews, amit yavnim, with the Greeks, what do they call it, the Hellenistic Jews. Varum, because Barum, because as Zayin and Gavan, there were a Zayiniyins, there were Jews, was haben nit gehalten from the Beis HaMikdash. The Jews that didn't want anything to do with the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple. There's a Gemara. It brings in the Gemara in Baba Kama that when the Romans were laying siege to the Holy Temple, so the Greeks, which were the Mityavnim, whatever, they, I guess maybe this was even in the time of the Greeks, when the Greeks were taking over the world, so they attacked the Holy Temple. They took over the Holy Temple, but they didn't destroy it. The Romans did that later. But when they were conquering the Holy Temple, so the Jews were inside doing the Holy Temple offering, and they had locked the door so nobody could come in, and the Greeks were outside, and the Jews would send down money, and the Greeks they would put it down by whatever it is, a bucket, and the Greeks would let them lift up the sacrifices, a sheep, whatever. And there was Greeks, there was how do you say, Hellenistic Jews that agreed with the Greeks, and they helped the Greeks. They told them to stop sending up gifts to the Jews. As long as they make sacrifices, then they're going to be strong. So we see that there was, the Rebbe also has a speech that like 98% of the Jews agreed with the Greeks. The Greeks were nice guys. The Greeks were cultured people, right? They weren't, and they were, of course, the victors. They were also warriors. But the main thing they had very developed philosophy and art with music, things that Jews didn't. Art with music, with statues. What type of the Jews occupied themselves in statues and plays, right? So therefore, in the time of the Holy Temple, a lot of the Maccabees had to fight not only against the Greeks, they had to fight against the Jews also, their own friends, their own people. nicht gehalten mit der Selbstständigkeit in, I'm sorry, again, nicht gehalten, they didn't, they were Jews. That's right. They did not, there were Jews that they did not agree with the Selbstständigkeit, with the eternality, eternalness, und Gewalt assimilate them. They wanted to assimilate with the Greeks, right? There were Jews that they just couldn't stand to be different. They wanted to be like the Greeks. Why hold yourself back? You see that the Greeks are successful and everything. Why keep in the previous generation? In the old time, times are changing. Be like the Greeks. So therefore, these Maccabees had to fight against them also. That was a very difficult time for Judaism. In a such a difficult situation, what their Eibishter God had gave the commandments of Chanuka. When a Zoit site further, it demands what's called self-sacrifice. When a Zoit site in such time is veinik on it is insufficient that we should light the same number of lights and light the candles only in your house, Barum, because in the time when there's opposition to Judaism, opposition to God, opposition to the Holy Temple, as in those times, it's not sufficient to have the same number of lights all the time, to be at peace and to light them only in your house. Barum oifen gas, because in the street, it's too dark now. And the finsternis and the darkness from the street can durchsparen, can permeate into your house. As Darfman, if you want the Judaism to continue, so you have to eliminate any powers which are against Judaism, and that is the ignorance of the street, the Greek influence which permeates the street and wants to come into your house as well. You have to put an effort into lighting up also the street as well. You can't just light up your house. You have to try to go in the street and also illuminate. Men sint Chanuka licht, you lit candles when it is finster, when it is dark, and unleben tier, and you put it also near your door, also specifically in order to illuminate the house. So you light the candles outside, but you light it like on the outside, most outside part of your house, in order to illuminate the world. Es ist wenig, it's insufficient, was sinden licht by sich, if you only light on your own, or if in tish on your table, und öffnen the tier, and open up your door in order that the lights should go out into the street. The light, nor men darf sinden, you have to put the lights out in the, you have to make, men darf, you have to make a big effort of belichting the gas to light up the street. What's the Rebbe saying? In the time of the Holy Temple, it was good the Jews kept to themselves, and that was good enough. It was a good example. Nowadays, it's not enough, says the Rebbe. There are a lot of Jewish groups, and they have a very good point, and they're wonderful people, and they say, listen, we have to do everything we can to keep the influence of the world out. That our children should not be affected by the world. Our children should, and they're right, 100% they're right. Says the Rebbe that that's not going to work. It's not going to work. Someone has to have an effect on the world. Judaism is not reactive, it is proactive. God put Abraham into the world in order to change the world, to be the father of all mankind. In other words, you have to go out and try to influence the world about what God is. So it's not good enough that you can just defend yourself against the missionaries or defend yourself against this, that you have to try to influence people about what God is and what life really is about, and the truth of the Torah and the truth of the commandments and the truth, this and with the truth of the 7 Noahide commandments. In other words, you have to light up the outside. And the non-religious Jews, is not good enough that you just keep them out of your house. You have to even invite them in and explain to them what Judaism is. Show them, especially now in our generation where almost nobody is going against Judaism on purpose. Right? People just don't know what it is. It's also insufficient, the number of lights that you light. If you want to illuminate the darkness, you can't keep the number 7. Varum, because men can knit bednugan, you cannot suffice.
In the 1950, like a week, like just after the, it was in 1950, goes to the Rebbe, he says, I have a shidduch.
1 minute. I'm going to have to turn off somebody's thing over here. It's wonderful to have participants, but somebody is unmuted. Someone. Okay, here we go. Yeah. It's not the same number of lights. Men nit geworden niedriger und men steht auf derselbe Matzav from Nacht. You can't stay in a low situation and suffice yourself with the nighttime nowadays. Nor men darf gehen als hecher and hecher. Therefore, we have to increase the number of lights. The number of lights has to be 8. And it's not enough to just make 1, even though a little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. But nowadays, a little bit of light is not sufficient. You have to have a lot of light in order to push away the darkness. So therefore, we have 8 candles, and also we show that we're increasing constantly. Really, the point is that not just to stop at the number 8. The point is we have to, even after we get 8 and the holiday of Chanuka ends, so we have to take the lesson of Chanuka and increase doing good all the time. Der Sacha call, what is the point of this is? In a zeit, in a time, was the finsternis, when the darkness is gross, is very great. Darf men nit spoil, you should not be afraid or intimidated. Wherein from the finsternis, from the darkness, was in gas which is in the street. Nor Adarab, exactly the opposite. Men darf gain, you have to go with Mesiras Nefesh, with self-sacrifice, belichten, the gas, lighting up the street. When Yedr tug and every day, to Geben Mer, give more and more light. Biz men ved, bring in until you can bring the oil, the pure oil, reina und kleine boimel, until there can be pure oil. That's the idea of the Moshiach. The word Moshiach means he's anointed with oil. Moshiach is going to be a Jew. It's going to illuminate the whole world with the Torah and with Judaism, and eventually build the 3rd temple. And gather all the Jews back to Israel, because they'll all want to do all the commandments. But until then, we have to increase and increase and increase constantly, and never be satisfied with what we've done. Like they once, from BBC, they came in and interviewed the Rebbe. The Rebbe gives out dollars on every Sunday, so they went with their whole crew with the camera and everything. And one of them, the reporter or whatever, he asked the moderator, he said to the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, are you satisfied? Are you happy? The Rebbe said, I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied. I'm happy, but I'm not. You have to be happy with what God gives you, no matter what. You have to be happy, but you should never be satisfied until Moshiach comes and makes the world a good place. Until there's this pure oil. That's the way. How can we improve the world now? What are we supposed to do? We can't just sit and wait until Mashiach comes and do the same thing. We have to do more. Men darf sich nit benugen. You should never be satisfied with them, mas, with the amount of light which you have made up to now. Nor men darf alle tag. You have to every day give more. Heint einlich, today 1 light. Morgen, tomorrow 2 lights. And 3, and etc., like we said before, anheben bald, immediately with a mitasach, and so weiter, anheben bald mitasach. You don't have to start with a big number. Can men doch nit springen mit amol. You can't say, I'm going to do everything at one time, right? If I don't sit and learn Torah and do the commandments and bring other Jews closer, don't do it at one time. Men häupt an mit Einlicht. So first of all, start small. Aber men darf bald in sein great. You have to be ready, prepared, and your goal is to light tomorrow more light, and the next day the more light. And there's never to be satisfied with what, I didn't used to be a religious Jew, and now I put on tefillin every day. What about Shabbos? We'll see. You have to increase every day. You have to increase something every day. So now I keep Shabbat and I eat kosher and I put on tefillin. I do all the commandments, and that's it. Enough. Says, what about the intention? You have to have love of God. Excuse me. You have to have more and more love of the Creator, more appreciation of the Creator. You have to go out and influence other Jews. You can't just keep it to yourself. So you have to constantly be increasing. The Rebbe came to make us crazy, that we shouldn't rest. Base. Men darf sein nit benugen, you can never suffice with the fact that you might make light by yourself in your house. And automatically it'll make light to the other people. No, that's like Noah's Ark, right? Anyone who wants to come in can come in. No, you have to make an effort to illuminate the world. Like Abraham had to go out. The Tzugav to them, darv sein mit Mesiras Nefesh. Zugang, I'm sorry. The attitude that you have to have is one of self-sacrifice. In other words, you're not making logical, reasonable moves necessarily. You have to be ready for self-sacrifice. Azoi viderinyan, the nace, like a miracle. Hecher from Teva, you have to be higher than nature. Men kukt oif im mitakruma oig. Even people look at you with a crooked eye. What's this guy trying to do? Who is he trying to tell? When Chabad started to light, they said we have to light big menorahs outside. So the whole reform movement, I think the conservatives also, they took them to court. They said you're damaging the Jewish people. You're going to give me the Holocaust. We're trying to keep a low profile and be like everybody else. And now you're advertising Judaism, how we're different, and making big meetings outside. You're drawing too much attention to us. Says the Rebbe, that's exactly what I want. Not to draw too much attention. That people would say it's too much, because it's not too much. One is, okay, good. One light is enough. One night is good enough. But no, 2 nights, 8 nights, inviting everybody. And the Rebbe made a video. He made an international video by satellite. I think it was the first one done in the world. That they all lit the lights of Chanuka. They picked the time when it was nighttime. They lit the lights of Chanuka at the same time in France and Australia, whatever, all these different places. Men cooked, even though people look at you in a negative way, darfer nitne spoil, don't have any, don't be affected by that. Don't be intimidated or influenced by other people's negativity. Veren und tan nispal veren. Und mit Mesiras Nefesh, you have to go with Mesiras Nefesh. In other words, don't worry about what people think about you or whatever. If you're doing something you know is right, if you know it's positive, right? You took advice from rabbis, you know what's. Here's the biggest rabbi of all. He's telling you what to do. Mesiras Nefesh, ois zu führen de Shlichus, was der Eibishter hat ihm gegeben. You have to do what God told you to do. Increase light in the world. Und this means by jeder Yidden, by every single Jew, there's salvation. You have to know, as is on every Jew is a what? Is a up by ambassador. It's an English word. Is an ambassador. 1 second. Let me make this bigger here. Where is it? Okay, make this bigger. 1 second. This is covering it. 1 second. Here we go. Every Jew is an ambassador from God. If to an varmen the gashmias from sein tile, in order to warm up the physical world. In other words, make fire in the physical world and make light in your wherever you are in your portion of the world, as velt by bees until as veren belichten, until there's lit up the whole entire surrounding where you are with Judaism. Und der Eufen, and the way in them, darv sein has to be nit benugen, and never to be satisfied with of us erhat oifketan, what you have done up to now, what you did yesterday. Nor else a tug every day you have to add on a little bit more. Have an attitude of increasing. Mendar facing, you have to know as hat oif getan nechten, whatever you did yesterday. You have to know what appreciate what you did yesterday in order to know how much you have to add on today. On B'Shas, when you go with that attitude to life, that you have to add on goodness constantly, as men gate mit of Mesiras Nefesh, then you go with what's called self-sacrifice. You don't think about what you're going to receive. You don't think about what you're going to lose. You think only about doing what's right. Men benugen sich nicht damit, was man macht Licht bei sich. You can't be satisfied with that you illuminated and you yourself have become an observant Jew, and you do a commandment, 2 commandments, all the commandments. You can't be satisfied with this. Men benugen sich nicht damit, was man had shown aufgetan, or that look at what I've already done, right? I built big buildings, I've done big things, I can be satisfied. No. Hat men dem Zugav. You have to always, I'm sorry, hat men das Zuzag as sof wird taka azoy. Okay, no, what's it? One second. That's right. You have to continue to go. You have to continue adding on until it becomes light, not just by you, but also in the outside world. In other words, the world, simple language, everybody recognizes there's a creator and that the creator loves them. He gave the Jews the Torah, and in the Torah, 7 Noahide commandments, that the non-Jews have to know that God is creating them, enlivening them, and he cares about them, that everyone is special and different and has a responsibility. That's what it means lighting up the street. When alt, and not the Greek attitude that the main purpose in life is to have a good time, enjoy yourself. When alts men mit mirror licht, you always have to add on more light. Bis men gefinnen, until you can find the pure light, which will be lit in the holy temple together with the Moshiach. Okay, so that's what do we learn up to now? That Chanuka is a holiday when we have to not be intimidated by any negativity in the world, but we have the power, we have the light of Judaism, the light of the creator of the universe, the example of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Moses to not just stand against the world and to survive, but to have a good influence on everything that's around us, to do more Torah and to do more commandments. Okay, let me just say in a short way, the next Sikha that's going to be here, I thought maybe we'd have time to do both. There's only one holiday in Judaism that everybody does what's called Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin. There are commandments, and then there's ways to do like the basic commandment, and then you can do it in a special way. For instance, tefillin. You buy a pair of tefillin for $300, let's say. $300 tefillin, that's tefillin. But if you want really good tefillin, then you have to pay $1,000, $1,500. That's called hidur mitzvah, right? A mitzvah, it's 5 times more expensive than the other tefillin. That's called hidur mitzvah. That's the way it is with all the commandments. There's the mitzvah and the hidur mitzvah you can do better. There's no commandment in the whole Torah that there's double hidur mitzvah. Mahadrin mina mahadrin. The only one is Chanuka. The law of Chanuka is that technically all you have to do is light 1 candle every night for the whole family. 1 candle. You have 10 children in the home, right, with you and your wife. The first night you light 1 candle, the second night 1 candle, every night, the 8th night, 1 candle. That's the law. You can make all the blessings and everything on 1 candle. If you're stuck in some place, you only have 1 candle on the 8th night of Hanukkah, 1 candle is enough. That's the basic law. There's the Mahadrin, the extra way, is that you light 1 candle for each person. in the home. But then there's the Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin. There's different opinions about the Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin means that every person, we do it every male, increases the number of candles. And everyone in Judaism, all the Jewish people, even non-religious Jews, that's how you do the lights of Chanuka. They add on every night. Mahadrin Mina Mahadrin. Special commandment. Special of the special. Everybody does it, even non-religious Jews. And it could be that this is the only commandment in Judaism that everybody does, even non-religious Jews, non-observant Jews. They light the lights of Hanukkah. And I imagine to myself that they make the blessings also. Or at least they sing some song commemorating whatever it is. So the Rebbe said, why is this? So the Rebbe said, well, let's look at what brought about the miracle of Hanukkah. According to the law, if the majority of the Jewish people are impure, let's say they touch dead bodies or whatever. So if the majority of the Jewish people, it's called Tuma Hutra Betzibur. If the majority of the Jewish people are impure, they can go to the Holy Temple. This is mainly with the Paschal offering, the Pesach offering. Every Jew had to go up to the Holy Temple. A Jew that's impure, he's touched a dead body, so he makes the Pesach offering a month later. It's called Pesach Sheni. But if the majority of the Jewish people are impure, then the Jewish people can make the sacrifice in impurity. The same thing with the oil. The Greeks did not destroy the oil. They just defiled the oil. They defiled the oil, and when the Jews defeated the Greeks, they could have used this defiled oil because there was no other oil. There was no other. So according to this, not just the majority, but here they have the oil that was impure, but you can use it. According to the Torah, you can use this oil. And they didn't. They refused to use this oil. They looked and they looked and they searched until they found one bottle, and they said, okay, that one bottle is enough for one night. We'll use it. They said, no, we're not going to use any other oil. And it lasted for 8 days. And the amazing thing is, the Jewish people, so they fought a whole battle. There was 13 Maccabees, 13 Chashmonaim, 13, and they fought against tens of thousands. What? Not for oil. They had oil. And the Greeks didn't stop them from serving in the temple, but they stopped them from serving in a way that was pure. Now, what's the difference between pure and not pure? There is absolutely no physical or scientific measurable difference whatsoever between pure oil and impure oil, or a pure temple or a not pure temple. It's just that one was on the terms of the Greeks, impure, and the other was on the terms of a few crazy Jews that said, we're not going to do it in a normal way. We're going to do it the way that God wants. It has to be 100% pure. That's called self-sacrifice. That's called Mahadrin Mina Mahadrin. Special of the special. It's the only commandment in Judaism which came from self-sacrifice of Jews. And because of that, it's the only commandment in Judaism that is done with special of the special. And because every Jew has this, we say, the Jews, every Jew is willing to sacrifice himself for God. Every Jew, whether they know it or they not, they don't. That's the essence of what a Jew is. That's the essence of Judaism. That a Jew is willing to even give his life for God. It doesn't care about heaven or hell, doesn't even believe in it. But to keep his Judaism, is one that we saw in the Crusades, we saw it in the Inquisition. Jews were willing to die and not deny their Judaism. Made no sense. And that's what a Jew is. It doesn't make any sense. And that's the holiday of Hanukkah. It doesn't make any sense. That's why everybody does it. And that's why it's Mahadrin Mina Mahadrin, the special of the special. Holiday of Hanukkah. And there are more differences also, which we'll talk about, God willing, on Sunday. Now let's learn the Yom Yom, and we'll do the story. Got a good story. Got a good story for everybody. Here we go. Yom Yom. 1 second. Yom Yom. Yes, 1 second. Yom Yom. And now I have to turn this off and turn it on. Here we go. Let's see. Will it work? I hope so. No, I have to go down here. Stop the share. It doesn't turn off. There, I have to go here, and then it's